The nostalgia economy's digital fault line, a thriving retrocomputing community, collides with the fragility of its digital infrastructure, exposing a critical vulnerability in cultural preservation. The vibrant ecosystem surrounding 8-bit computing clubs and online communities represents a significant, grassroots-driven sector of the nostalgia economy, leveraging live streams, software preservation, and hardware emulation to sustain a living history.
However, the operational reality of these communities is perilously dependent on aging digital assets and volunteer-maintained web infrastructure, as exemplified by the inaccessible press release link Commodore net/pressplay returning a 400 badge request error.
This technical failure is not merely a broken link but a symptom of a systemic fragility where the enthusiasm of a global audience for events like the C64 Ultimate USB cassette showcase is bottlenecked by unstable gateways to information and commerce. The immediate conflict lies between the community's dynamic real-time engagement model and the decaying, static digital foundations upon which it inadvertently relies.
Archival imperatives vs. digital decay. The technical scaffolding of retrocomputing is succumbing to link rot and platform obsolescence, threatening community cohesion and historical access.
The status quo for communities like your local 8-bit computer club is a patchwork of modern social platforms. Twitter used to promote events centered on legacy systems Commodore 64, Atari, Apple Roman 2, Tandy, MSX. This creates a paradoxical dependency. Contemporary streaming services deliver content about obsolete hardware, while critical supporting information, official announcements, software documentation, purchase links often resides on privately held, poorly maintained domains.
The HTTP 400 error on a press-related URL signifies more than a server misconfiguration. It represents the breakdown in the chain of provenance and access that is vital for both community activity and historical accuracy. The underlying driver is a lack of sustainable centralized archival standards for this niche, forcing vital resources onto infrastructure without permanent stewardship, thereby placing the community's operational momentum and cultural legacy at continuous risk.
The centralized stream vs. the decentralized archive. Live streaming creates a centralized, ephemeral event hub, while essential archival resources remain scattered and vulnerable, creating a critical operational disconnect.
The strategic model is bifurcated. Live streaming platforms provide a powerful, centralized engine for real-time community gathering and content delivery, as seen with the planned 6 p.m. EDT games and demo stream. This creates a high engagement, monetizable focal point.
Conversely, the ecosystem's foundational resources, software, images, documentation, press materials, and e-commerce portals for products like the Ultimate USB cassette are radically decentralized, often hosted on ad hoc personal servers or corporate domains with lapsed maintenance. The Commodore
net failure is a direct consequence of this architecture. The community's vitality is thus held hostage by the weakest link in this scattered chain. A single broken gateway can sever the connection between audience interest and the ability to participate fully or transact.
This disconnect forces community leaders to become ad hoc sysadmins and digital archaeologists, diverting energy from content creation to infrastructure troubleshooting.
Mandate for sovereign digital curation. To ensure longevity, the retrocomputing community must transition from passive consumption of fragile web resources to active stewardship of its own digital commons. The inevitable conclusion is that reliance on external, unstable digital properties is an existential strategic risk.
The predicted consequence is the continued erosion of accessible history and the fragmentation of community knowledge as key resources vanish. The strategic verdict is a mandate for sovereign digital curation.
Next steps must involve the collaborative development of community-endorsed resilient archives paths, leveraging decentralized protocols like IPS or community-funded dedicated hosting for critical software, documentation, and promotional assets. Future opportunities lie in formalizing the link between streaming revenue and preservation funding, creating a sustainable loop.
The immediate risk remains audience attrition due to poor user experience, but the long-term opportunity is the construction of a durable, self-owned digital infrastructure that can support the nostalgia economy for decades, independent of the ephemeral nature of the commercial web.